I'd like to welcome everyone to the April 11th, 2019 meeting of the Delaware County Board of Commissioners. And I would like to ask our prosecutor to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That is our county prosecutor, Chris Betts, leading us in the pledge. I'm Barb Lewis, president. To my left is Vice President Jeff Benton. To my right, fellow Commissioner Gary Merrill, our administrator, Mike Fromer, and our clerk for today is Sarah DeNovo. We can begin.
Resolution number 19-320 in the matter of approving the electronic record of proceedings from regular meeting held April 8th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 19-320. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
We have no public comment this morning. Resolution number 19-321 in the matter of approving purchase orders, then now certificates and payments of warrants and batch numbers CMA PR 0410 and memo transfers and batch numbers MTA 0410.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 19-321. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-322 in the matter of approving travel expense requests.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 19-322. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-323 in the matter of the Board of County Commissioners declaring the week of April 7th National Crime Victims Week in Delaware County.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Acting Prosecuting Attorney Christopher Betts. Thank you for having me this morning. I think this is probably the last time that I'll be in front of you as acting prosecutor. But in any event, in case you did not know, this week, April 7th through April 13th, is National Crime Victims' Rights Week. The signs out front were maybe your first clue. But we appreciate the commissioners bringing this to a local focus here in Delaware County. We're fortunate to live in this community that cares and makes victims a priority. Each year, our Victim Services Unit works with many victims of crime, helping them navigate the judicial process step by step. We're here today with a number of our folks from our Victim Services Unit, along with the Sheriff's Office and other folks that work with victims of crime. We though, are just one of many agencies that work together to help those who are in need most. Our office, along with the Sheriff's Office, Helpline, Turning Point, and our local law enforcement, work together to provide answers, comfort, and justice to those that are going through the judicial system. The theme for this year's national recognition is honoring our past and creating hope for future. So we thank you again for bringing this to local attention, for letting us put the signs out front.
Sure.
We're excited about this week, and we appreciate you helping us honor those victims turned survivors. Certainly together, we are working to create hope for the future. So thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, and thank you for your time as interim county prosecutor.
All right.
Done a great job,
Thank you.
and we shall see what happens tonight.
I appreciate and I'm honored to have done it. So I
Yes.
appreciate everybody's confidence in me. So thank you very much.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And we do have our county sheriff, Russ Martin, if you could say a few words.
Yeah, I want to just echo what Mr. Betts has shared. You know, the criminal justice process, prosecutor's office is very aware of this. It doesn't end upon arrest. And what we oftentimes forget to consider is the ongoing impact that the victims have, not only at the time of the crime, but as they navigate the criminal justice system. So we are really fortunate in this county, not only the prosecutor's office, but Alex and Val's in court right now, I understand. She's with a victim right now. We're very fortunate to have a cadre of victims advocates who genuinely care about the people that are impacted by crime. And so I just want to make a point to be here today too. They don't get enough public acknowledgement. These are the people that work behind the scenes. And I don't want to be too melodramatic, but as many as you know, my wife and I were victims of a stalker for almost 2 decades. And I'm a grizzled old 38-year law enforcement vet. And when the FBI said, would you like to speak with a victim's advocate, the last thing I thought I needed was a victim's advocate. But I said, well, they can come up. My wife might need that,
Oh,
Now, I will tell you, that was the closest I had been, obviously for personal reasons, to the work that they do on a regular basis. And these folks really make a difference in helping people heal and recover, be resilient in those difficult times. And we're really fortunate in this county to have great people that really care and do a good job. And that's why I'm here today, just to commend them publicly for the work they do.
thank you so much.
Yes, I would definitely echo that. It's a thankless job, it's an unseen job, and we've got fantastic people here in Delaware County that help folks in need, getting through that process, understanding that process, and understanding their rights. So we're definitely very thankful for all the hard work that these folks do with our office, with the sheriff's office, and with all the other agencies that work with victims. So, and we appreciate being able to recognize them.
Oh, absolutely. Would any of our victims advocates like to say anything? No.
Shy all of a sudden.
It's sure a fitting time to recognize, though, what you do, and so much of it, as is mentioned, just goes unrecognized, but you know the difference that you make in people's lives, enabling them to go on. And thank you so very much. Any other comments?
Would it be appropriate to do a little round of applause for?
Oh, absolutely.
They're all for smiling, I might add. So.
That's right. That's right. Thank you. I think we'll get a picture.
Thank you very much.
The four in the front? Yeah. Four ladies in the front, come in front of us. In front of us? Yeah. Trish, you need to be in the front, come down here in front of Gary, because I think she's taller than you.
Tracy's going to stage direct us.
Want me to stand up?
You know what, can we squeeze it just a little bit?
There we go, now we can do it. Oh, yeah. I have a phone call, goodbye. No way. Are you guys getting it? Not a good thing. Got it?
Okay, and my turn. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Yeah? Thank you. Okay, we'll vote on that.
Vote on motion 19-323. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-324, in the matter of acknowledging receipt of the annexation petition from the agent for the petitioners, Jeffrey W. Sharp, requesting annexation of 8.900 acres of land in Berkshire Township to the village of Galena.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion? Oh,
Vote on motion 19-324. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-325, in the matter of granting annexation petition from the agent for the petitioner, Jackson V. Reynolds III, requesting annexation of 11.555 acres of land in Liberty Township to the city of Powell.
So moved?
Second.
discussion? Vote.
Vote on motion 19-325. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-326, in the matter of approving the Delaware County 2019 Multi-Hazard Mitigation Plan.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Morning, Commissioners. Sean Miller, Director, Delaware County Emergency Management. For your consideration this morning is a plan that is essentially a roadmap for how we can deal with hazards posed to Delaware County. And this plan is very collaborative in nature. It was a very collaborative process in its creation. And we had a planning team which represented, of course, the Board of Commissioners, Commissioner Lewis sat on the team, along with the municipalities represented. And we also, on numerous occasions, sought public input on the planning process, as well as surrounding counties. So we went even more in depth than we normally do to make sure that it was a good collaboration. And this plan is also a little bit different in that either the state of Ohio or FEMA ultimately approves the plan, and Ohio EMA has approved the plan pending local adoption, and so that's the reason I'm here today. And as I said, it represents a roadmap for Delaware County to reduce or eliminate the impacts of various hazards. The local adoption is a requirement for certain federal mitigation grants, so having this plan in place will enable us to apply for future grants later on. Additionally, it provides a hazard profile and lists hazards with a historical context. It summarizes what the impacts of those hazards could be, and it proposes actions that we can take to minimize those impacts. And so, for example, flooding along the Scioto River, we've done projects out there previously for flood-prone properties, which reduces the burden on the National Flood Insurance Program. Additionally, we were able to fund this project through a grant, and we brought on an intern who did a terrific job. She's since moved on to a full-time career with Ohio EPA. But long story short, I believe we were able to create a very high-quality product for minimal public dollars expense. So I'm very proud of what she was able to do. And lastly, I would like to point out that this plan, we're not bound to do the things that are in it. A lot of them are contingent upon future funding, grant funding, things of that nature. So while plan adoption is a requirement for future funding, it's not a binding kind of approval. So we're just essentially saying that we adopt this plan, and that is that requirement for the future funding. So with that, I'd be happy to entertain any questions you may have.
Just a comment. I know that the group ranked the possible hazards. Any thoughts on that? Was that done as extensively before as it was this time?
That's a great question. We changed the methodology for the ranking a little bit, and it's also more explicit in the plan how we came to our conclusions. I think our conclusions are more defensible than the previous plan, but the top-ranked hazard based off of our new methodology is tornadoes, and one of the reasons for that is the frequent occurrence. Our last tornado was in 2016, so pretty recent, and we've had several in the years preceding that as well. Of interest, we did add 2 additional hazards this year, cyber attacks being one of them, as well as earthquakes. And those are currently lower on the list. However, I imagine as time progresses, cyber will move up the list. And one of the reasons why cyber was lower is because there are not a whole lot of actual impactful incidents. Thankfully, in Central Ohio, we've been pretty lucky. Of course, there was the attack in Licking County a few years ago, which was impactful, and we did talk about that in the plan. But I think as time progresses, that will move up in the ranking, certainly.
Yes. And I know this took several months to do, and I thank you for your work on it, Sean.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any other questions?
Does this include all jurisdictions within Delaware County
It includes all of them with the exceptions of Columbus, Dublin, and Westerville.
who have their own plans?
With Franklin County, yes, sir.
Okay. I noticed in the
in the material, you've got the estimated potential losses that the aforementioned planning area could incur during a hazard event have been calculated. So you've actually calculated the potential dollar losses of the
We
of the
have
areas?
in certain scenarios, and
Okay.
those are, we were able to pretty easily pull those with the help of the Delaware County GIS office. And so they know what the rough property valuations are, and so we were able to overlay an impacted area for whatever the particular hazard was, and see what those financial impacts could be. So I would like to thank Delaware County GIS for their contributions to this plan, because they were able to really bolster the plan with the data that
right.
they could pull out of it.
Yeah,
Interesting.
good point.
Yeah.
Anything else? No. Okay, vote.
Vote on motion
Thank you.
19-326. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you,
Thanks, Sean.
Sean.
Resolution number 19-327, in the matter of approving grants for the Delaware County Trail Assistance Program.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jenna Gehring, the Economic Development Coordinator and Chair of the Delaware County Trail Committee. First of all, I would like to thank the Commissioners for their support of this new program, and I'd also like to give a thank you to my Trail Committee members who have been instrumental in helping this program come to fruition as well. There was 4 applicants for the Trail Assistance Program, and the Trail Committee is recommending 3 of them be funded, 1 from Berkshire Township, 1 from the City of Delaware and Liberty Township combined, and 1 for the Village of Shawnee Hills, and I recommend your approval.
Okay.
The one that didn't get approved was because they didn't meet the criteria.
Correct, yes. Our program is for the paving of actual trails, and this was a request for lighting in a parking lot for
was the-
mountain bike climbing trails. So, yes.
Where is the one in Berkshire Township?
Berkshire Township is right by their township hall. It's a piece of what's going to be a larger trail connecting their park right by their township hall.
Oh, done, okay. Vote.
Vote on motion 19-327. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jenna.
Resolution number 19-328, in the matter of approving a services agreement between the Delaware County Board of Commissioners and Benchmark Landscape Construction Incorporated for 2019 facilities turf mowing.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Good morning, John Melvin, Director of Facilities. This is the second year we've contracting out our mowing of all the outlining properties, in particular all the EMS stations across the county, the dog shelter, and those larger parcels. We've made some adjustments to this contract a little bit this year, and this is only for a one-year contract, and we're going to look at bidding this out for the next year for a multiple-year contract.
Any questions?
I think we discussed it last year.
Yep.
Okay. Vote.
Vote on motion 19-328. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-329, in the matter of approving amendment number 1 to the contract between the Delaware County Board of Commissioners and Commercial Express Building Services Incorporated for ITB number 17-01, janitorial services for the Delaware County, for Delaware County.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
I've been working with the Clerk of Court's office. Their current custodial provider down at the North Point Title office, they need to get a new person in there. The other person is leaving who's been doing that. This contractor who we currently have a contract to clean at the Wolf Building, Channing Street, and at the jail. They've actually been doing probably a better job than some of our previous contracts. So we've worked with the clerk's office to do this amendment so they can take over cleaning the North Point Title office down there for them.
Okay.
This is basically in lieu of whoever we were paying before, right?
Yes, yes. And yeah, the clerk of courts will be paying for this. But since we currently have a contract in place, we were able to just do this amendment.
Okay, vote.
Vote on motion 19-329. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye. Thank you, John.
Resolution number 19-330, in the matter of awarding a bid and approving a contract with Equiva Water Technologies LLC for the 2019-2020 calcium nitrate chemical supply contract for the Delaware County Regional Sewer District DCRSD contract number 19-01.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Morning, Commissioners. Eric McPeak, Delaware County Regional Sewer District Deputy Director of Operations. This is a bid we put out for calcium nitrate that we use for odor control in the sewer system. This was a it'll be a 2-year contract. The same company has had it last time, so we'll have pretty good quality supply. And we've taken several steps in the last few years to reduce our cost in this area, almost cut the cost in half, down $300,000 at 158,000 gallons. And this year, we're projecting 82,000 gallons. And with the price that it is now, we'll be at about 165,000 spent 2019. So
Great.
requesting your approval.
Okay. Vote?
Vote on motion 19-330. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Murrow?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Thank you, Eric.
Resolution number 19-331, in the matter of authorizing the participation for the ODOT winter contract 018 through 19 for road salt.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Good morning, Rob
Morning.
Riley, Chief Deputy Engineer. As difficult as it is to believe, we need to start planning for winter next year. Barely out of winter this year. As in years past, we are proposing to join in the ODOT cooperative purchase of road salt. We are asking for your approval to purchase up to 11,000 tons. We are still working through the final delivery and storage of this current contract year salt. For your information, we have used about 8,700 tons of salt this winter. That does include the salt that we sell to our cooperative purchasing partners, the townships. The county usage is roughly half of that. The other half goes to the various townships that purchase from our stockpile. So we are confident this up to 11,000 will be sufficient. I think the actual number we award, the actual number we order would be probably more like 9,000 to 10,000 tons. But again, over the next week or so before the bid or the number needs to be submitted to ODOT, we want to work through our final delivery and storage calculations. So.
We had a fairly easy winter, didn't we? So at least it seemed that way.
Yeah, I'd say it was probably pretty typical winter. January was a rough month. We had some big storms that lasted through the weekends, and I know we had probably one of the worst storms in terms of difficulty plowing. Our drivers noted the guys that were out in the middle of the morning, early morning, they couldn't see anywhere, especially north of town. So they were just glad to keep the truck on the road. But yeah, for the most part, this was a pretty typical winter. That 9,000 ton figure is pretty typical.
Salt kind of spiked a couple of years ago. Has it come back down, or is it still pretty high, or high comparatively?
It's up pretty significantly from a few years ago. Typically, the price trails. If we have a light winter, the next year we'll have lower salt prices. I'm expecting prices in line with what we've seen this year. We're paying about $78 per ton. That's at least twice as much as it used to be 10 years ago. So it's a little disheartening. I know you've heard Mr. Brosman say before, once you spread salt, it's gone. I mean, once you dump it out of the tailgate, it does its job, then it's gone. And salt is the same, basically the same price as a ton. A ton of salt costs the same as a ton of asphalt in place. And obviously asphalt lasts 10, 12, 15 years, and salt lasts about an hour. So it's what we have to do.
Okay, vote.
Vote on motion 19-331. Mr. Murrow?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Resolution number 19-332, public hearing for consideration of a petition from the Board of Berlin Township Trustees requesting vacation of Township Road 123A in Berlin Township, Delaware County, Ohio, under the special procedures of RC 553.045.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Vote.
Vote on motion 19-332. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Murrow?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-333, in the matter of approving for a specific occurrence, a suspension of Rule 3, speaker registration, Rule 4, limitations, and Rule 7, public comment procedure from the governing rules in public comment for the Board of County Commissioners of Delaware County, Ohio.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Vote.
Vote on motion 19-333. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye. All right. We are now in our hearing. Just take a look here.
There is a sign-in sheet going around if you'd like to sign in.
Okay. Do I have? Yeah, if everybody would sign in who is here for the hearing, please. Is this done the same way as our others?
And I didn't, I don't have a cheat sheet for you.
Okay.
Sorry.
The engineer's report here somewhere. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, maybe. Okay. I think I will ask Rob to come back up, Rob Riley, our county engineer, to just run through your report on this request.
Okay. Commissioners, we submitted the report you have in front of you in response to a petition that was filed by the Board of Trustees of Berlin Township requesting vacating a portion of Township Road 123A. This is old, what we call Old Hyatts Road near the US 23 intersection. I'm not going to read the report in its entirety, but I'll try to summarize briefly. The alignment or the section of road that is being requested for vacation is currently a stub off of County Road 123. It used to be the alignment of Hyatts Road prior to the 1950s when US 23 was improved. At that time, Hyatts Road was moved to where it currently intersects 23. The property owner along the section of 123A has requested and is in the current process of rezoning and filing a development plan for that property, and is interested in seeing that property vacated to facilitate their development. We have looked into the issue of road frontage to make sure that there is no issue with the property remaining to legally access the road, and we don't believe there is any problem with that. And so accordingly, we are recommending proceeding with the vacation of this section of road as shown in the exhibit that you have in front of you and the plat attached thereto. So I can answer any questions you may have at this time.
Okay, do we have any questions right now?
I think I would prefer to wait to hear
Yeah,
pros and
I think-
cons, and then I'd be
right.
in a better position to comment or
Right.
question.
Right. Thank you. Stay tuned. We'll need you in a minute. And let me ask now the proponents of the vacation, if anyone cares to speak. And you would just state your name and address. Is there a swearing in?
There should be one in
Yeah,
front.
I do swear in. Eric? Should anyone be sworn in if they're speaking pro or con? Yes. Okay. All right. I will swear you in first. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you.
My name is Ryan Badger with ADR and Associates, 88 West Church Street in Newark, Ohio. We're the plan engineering consultant for this development, so we are definitely in favor of this. This will allow us to develop the property as it needs to be and maintain access to Hyatts Road. So I'm here to answer any questions.
Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to speak for the vacation?
Could you perhaps, I'd like to know a little bit more about what this property's going to be used for. Maybe he's not, I think he's going to answer that question.
And okay, and I will swear you in too, sir. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
My name is John Oney with Architectural Alliance, architect for the project. Connie Klima, attorney for the project, could not be here today, so I'll speak. So briefly, I could just share with you a couple boards about what
Sure.
the project's about.
Sure.
Thank you. This is Heights Road, this is 23. This is the property in question. It's currently a house here, residential use that's divided by the road that services access to both those two houses. So we're combining the parcels, and the development is going to be a commercial plan development, a CPD, which is consistent with what I know Mr. Shades here, the property, the zoning behind us, and I think this is PID, but it's also kind of being used as PCD as well with businesses that are in here. So in order to do, this would be retail, office, typical uses that you'd see that we have listed in and approved by our text. So in order to do the building here, there's a lot of slope here. We can't really use this. We'll use this for retention. But in order to service this, it would be a private drive that would be, here. This road currently, this is kind of where the access point is. And that road goes here and just ends. It does not connect to 23, and it can never connect to 23 per what ODOT has said with limited access.
So your access will be to Hyatt.
That's correct.
Will this impair the other owner's ability to access their property?
No.
Where would they access it from?
These two properties can you answer this better than me?
Are you talking about other properties being to the west? These two properties will be combined, so it'll be one lot, so our access will be here. This property accesses 23, and then to the west, it has their own driveway.
What about the undeveloped lands
the
to the
south.
south there? How will they access their property?
To the south,
No, above the Hyatt,
that piece is pretty much all road right-of-way or highway easement. It's owned by, this is all one piece right here. I don't know that that's a buildable lot, because it's all occupied with the exception of 5 or 8 foot strip way back here that's not in the easement. So it's all highway easement, this piece here, so there's really nothing that could, I don't believe the county would approve it that have a driveway to that, because like I said, it's not a buildable lot.
I believe Mr. Badger's correct. The highway easement for the realigned tie strip does pass through that area. There's a very, very small area that would actually be usable.
But doesn't that landowner have the right to be able to access their property?
They do. They do. And they still would under this.
Well, I asked the question, how would they access the property? I did not get an answer to that question, and I'm confused.
It'd be the same way they do today, because they actually, the property owner does not have access to, the best thing would be to look at this exhibit, if you would, the red strip line.
Sorry if I point map for you.
Sure, we've got the map here.
So this is the property you're asking about. So they have road frontage, so they technically have access. There is the current driveway there, but if they choose to have something, they would have to go through the county to get an access point. So this little strip right here is the only portion of this whole property, of this property to the north of Hyatt Road that is not part of existing highway easement or right of way.
So they couldn't build anything in the,
But they could access it because they do have frontage.
right.
And nothing that we are doing is prohibiting that.
So that they couldn't build anything except in that 5-foot strip. Is that
If
true, Ron?
Yeah, physically, that's, I think.
Yeah, okay. but, okay.
We better go back to the mic there too, so
Yeah.
everybody, sure. Oh,
Did that help answer the question a little more?
I'm not sure, but I think I'll wait till the.
Yeah,
everybody
we'll,
else is speaking. I may
yeah.
still need some clarity on it. but,
sure. Is anyone else wish to speak for the vacation? Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition?
Good morning, Commissioners.
I will swear you in.
Sure.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
This has been an ongoing project in this area.
Oh, Mike, just introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm
Yes,
Mike
sorry.
Larshade. I represent Judith D. Hook, who is trustee of the Judith D. Hook Trust, and that happens to be the sole members of Hyatt's Columbus Pike LLC, Jaguar Resources LLC, and ECH Pathways LLC, all the owners at 124 Hyatt's and 123 Hyatt's, and the property that was referred to as the Hyatt's Columbus Pike property that is currently without an address. We have been in contact with the applicant, ATT Properties. They were, as part of the process, kind enough to reach out to us on a number of occasions. Their concerns were about their plan and whether we had any objections. When the first contact came, when regional planning, they appeared before regional planning for their review as required for the rezoning, and that took place. As a follow-up to that, there was a suggestion that they somehow go with a road coming out of their property over to the main drive of between 124 and 130 Hyatt's Road, and my client declined that because her project is in the stages of finalization, and John Olney is the architect on much of that project. So we're familiar with the players. There's nobody I hold in higher esteem than John and Connie Klima and Al Coughlin. They're good people. They're decent people. My client's concern is that the road is not going to be abandoned on her property, but the latest drawing that we received from the county engineer's office shifts it further to the east than it was originally planned on their drawing and what was originally shown on the drawings from the county engineer's office that we also received, and I can leave these with you. Judy's first concern is that back in several months ago, the county administrator, the current county administrator, was involved as the sanitary engineer in the discussions for a pump station, and they wanted it down in the ravine where the lowest point, abutting up to the property, and there was a dialogue that took place between Mr. Coughlin's representatives and Judy and I about the possibility of locating that. My client was very willing to donate that property to that cause. As this body is well familiar, she has had and not just for her benefit of many people, and for the townships and the local governments, about obtaining sanitary sewer to service everyone in the immediate area. That did not happen. Then the sanitary engineer came back and asked my client if they would be willing to locate in what would be the southeast corner of 124 Hyatt's Road, a location for the pump facility for the whole sewer service area. And my client agreed. When we received the first drawings, the most immediate concern my client had, it was that was because there was a roadway abutting ATT's property solely for the purpose of access to service the pump station. And she didn't, in the original curb of the driveway was going to cut across that area. And she was concerned because she had made a commitment and is still honoring that commitment today for the construction of that facility. So she didn't want anything interfering with that. Then, with this vacation, we are now taking that area on the ATT property to with a vacation private status. According to Ohio law, that property would be divided between the two owners, which is a common ownership, and that would be vacated. My client has no disagreement with the project that's been proposed for the project. My client doesn't have a problem with the vacation of the roadway if it's recommended by the engineer's office as it applies to their property. What my client has a problem for is once it moves from a public dedication and a public service to the entire community, then the access at the driveway, according to the latest drawing, is much more significant across my client's property. There is easements in place, but the easements are for public purpose, not for the crossing of the property for private uses. And now, I indicated that there have been several contacts. The first contact we had with regard to the area in I call the ravine, the Heights, Columbus Pike, and also the now ECH Pathways LLC properties. They contacted us regarding, they wanted to have an easement granted for the purposes of keeping the line of sight, because this is a fairly short distance from 23, and that's understandable. And then there were a couple other contacts with regard to it. My clients threw out a number, just arbitrarily picking a number, and said that, you know, they could buy all the property north of Hyatt's Road. That did not take place. With line of sight, with the, you know, looking at it today, looking at what improvements are going to be made, which we agree to, my client has willingly participated. The county engineer's office has just been tremendous in their efforts, and we're trying to get some things cleared out here this spring on the south side of the Hyatt's Road, because my client has a fence that's going to have to be relocated. And I talked with Rob Riley the other day, and he is, as usual, very cooperative in those endeavors. So my client is objecting because now we're going to have a private purpose going across their lands to connect to a public right-of-way, and that there should be some form of compensation. I firmly believe that the best way to handle this is probably not by an easement, but for the acquisition of the property in the ravine, the property all along that corridor on the north side to the 124 Hyatt's Road, because then it enters into, once it gets into the middle of 124 Hyatt's Road, the roadway is all on 124 Hyatt's Road. It exists. It's been there for a number of years. So it seems to me that to clean up any future problems, any difficulties, that the county consider acquiring that whole property, just not in easement, but in fee, because it's a major drainage corridor for all areas into Berlin Township. I don't know exactly what the connections would be. I don't think there would be anything coming from Orange Township. The Hyatt's Columbus Pike property and the ECH Pathways LLC property are in Orange Township, not in Berlin Township. 124 Hyatt's Road is in Berlin Township. So those are the concerns, and we think that at least my client feels that it's not that they're not willing to participate, they're not willing to have discussions, but they want to, they think they're entitled to compensation for the crossing privately across their lands to gain access out onto Hyatt's Road. And that's their main complaint right now. If the drawing, as I was given the other day, is correct, and I will be happy to give these to you. These were the drawings, the ones in red were the initial drawings, and this was the latest one I see, and the original driveway was going to be up here, and now it's been shifted down here. So now it's significantly into.
Rob, you want to, take a look, too.
I marked up this exhibit to reflect what I'm showing here. I'm sorry, hopefully you can all see this.
Yeah.
The portion I've shaded here would be, I believe, what Mr. Shade is talking about, the portion of the driveway that's actually on the Hook property. This is entirely, this triangle piece right here is entirely within highway easement.
So it's that shaded part that is
I believe that's what you're referring to.
Yes.
the Hook property?
That is actually on the Hook property.
Okay. Do you, okay, so you're saying, I guess.
To go back, so.
Yes, sorry. Better- Yes, so we'll be able to hear
So I
what
just-
you're saying.
I did-
Okay.
I didn't see that drawing, and this is what was given to me by their office the other day, which shows it going to the east and dipping out further. You know, the question is even though it's in a right-of-way, you're still coming across private property.
Right.
And my client just believes that, in fairness, again, we're not in opposition. We're not in opposition to the development of the AT&T property. We reviewed it very carefully. I conveyed that message to Ms. Klima and indicated to her that we were not going to appear at any of the public hearings and nothing to object to their plan. However, that was not done at that time. That what was going to take place, the vacation, I was assuming that at some point in time that would come up because otherwise they couldn't proceed with their development.
So what your client is asking for then is some form of compensation?
Yes, and we also think for the long-term benefit of the entire corridor, and that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be roadway, but the collector tile in system that is down in the ravine is significant. I mean, all the drainage, all the development that is expected to come all the way up to the city of Delaware, including parts of the city of Delaware, for which there is currently an assessment, and that whole area, it will flow through this channel.
So there's a question of compensation. Do you have any suggestions for the compensation as to what that should be?
I do not,
Okay.
and I can only indicate to you that the, as those plans, as I was talking with my client yesterday, and this was about 13 years ago, she indicated to me that some teenagers coming across Shanahan Road, how they survived coming over Shanahan Road across 23 and ended up in their fence, airborne. They were traveling at such a high rate of speed. The problem is that ravine represents a problem. Right now, it's well protected by guardrails, but as many of us have seen, guardrails don't always do the job. But my biggest concern is the drainage in that area, and that it seems to be that whole corridor needs to be serviced by and under the control of Delaware County.
Hey, I got a question. Have you tried to work out a purchase arrangement with the other owner?
We made an offer, and we never heard back from them regarding that. I did have a casual conversation with Ms. Klima, and I kind of gathered that they were not inclined to pay the amount that my client
Not
demanded.
inclined because they didn't respond, not inclined because they said no.
Well, there wasn't an inference of no. It was just that they would not be responding to that number. And so in talking with my client says, look, they wanted a number, we gave them a number. And that didn't mean that.
They didn't make a counter. is what you're saying.
that they wouldn't have entertained something. So those are just questions that my client has and concerns my client has. And I think as evidenced by her willingness to work with everybody on this. In fact, I just contacted Delco Water because there's going to be realignments of several water lines in this area. And that we need to finish up those easements, thanks to a conversation I had yesterday with, or a couple days ago with Rob Riley, that we're concerned about when it's going to start and what we have to do. And we received those easements, but we weren't sure where, and we never heard back from Delco, so I called them this morning. I was out of the office a good portion of yesterday for a seminar, but we did reach out to Delco, and Josh Pruitt from Delco will get back with me.
Sure. Does the approval or disapproval of this vacation affect then because Mr. Shays brought up the point that drainage could be affected in the ravine?
The short answer is no. The vacation of the highway easement that has been petitioned will in no way affect the drainage of the area because there's no physical work being done by the county. I want to make sure, I want to add a couple things if I may.
Sure.
And I first want to say we've been very fortunate and very appreciative of the work and the working relationship we've had with the Hook family and Mr. Shade in working to acquire the additional easements that were needed for the Hyatt's Road improvements that we will be starting later this year and next year. That said, the issue before us today is whether or not we vacate the road. I don't believe, and I'll defer to Mr. Hostetler, if there's anything that the county can do in terms of compensation for the area that currently remains.
Let me pose a question. This is very difficult to understand. There's a lot of nuances here. So please be patient with me. If the theory, and I believe in landowners' rights very strongly, and you've heard that from many times in here, if I understand correctly, what I've heard is that this private road is going across this property of his client. Is that accurate?
Based on what I've shown you with my handy-dandy little sketch here, there is a small portion of that driveway.
But that's not the point is, if it's crossing private property, I have a real concern about not respecting that property owner's rights, and it would be true wherever it fell in this county.
Yeah.
I think there's a responsibility there that we share, and I have some concerns about that. Philosophically, I think that's an issue.
I can tell you, well, first off, that area is entirely within existing highway easement. I understand what Mr. Shade is saying, that the highway easement there is for the road, not for driveways. I will tell you, this very situation is very common throughout the entire county, particularly where you have driveways that are very close to a property line. The apron or the radius of that driveway may extend onto the abutting property. That happens very, very commonly across the county.
So let me ask one more question. The roads that currently exist, if they use that road in its current format, it's not an issue? It doesn't cross this client's property, correct or incorrect?
Yeah, I may need you to restate that one more time.
As the road currently exists, does it cross this client's property?
You mean the driveway that's
The
proposed?
driveway that currently exists, the
Proposed, or?
the public road that currently exists that we're talking about vacating,
You can see it on that.
does that cross this property owner's?
It does. The pavement
So my
of,
question is, does it change the discussion?
I don't believe it does. I don't believe it does, because the portion, now, keep in mind, we're talking about vacating the public roadway within the red shaded area. What remains is still highway easement out, on the
Was
south side of
outside
that road.
this property owner's property, or is it still on his property?
It would, the underlying fee would be by the property owner, but again, there's highway easement over top of that.
I'm not sure, I'm not asking the question very well, I don't think, so.
I think, I'm sorry, just, let me interrupt you a second. This is Judith's development we have, and I'm not sure it's totally accurate, but it may help at least show you where things were.
Here's all Hyatt's roads that were asked to be vacated.
Okay.
So there's the access that this property has on the Hyatt's road.
Is that currently situated on this other client's property?
Their property comes up and over, so, yes, it still overlaps this little triangle area. But if I could add to what Mr. Rudd was saying, that the highway easement is there not just for the roadway, but it does provide access along our frontage to get onto that roadway, just like all the properties up and down Hyatt's Road.
Let me ask you a question this way. If the tables were turned and that was your property, how would you view it?
That portion of the proposed driveway is within the highway easement to give, therefore I got rights to access Hyatt's Road with the new driveway. It is on the property road because it's a highway easement. I don't think we can not have access to the road since we're adjacent to it, and there's an easement there for that roadway. I'm not sure if I'm reading that correctly, Rob.
Yeah, I know. As I said earlier, we see this same situation where the radius or the apron of the driveway may extend off the underlying fee owner's property onto an adjacent property, but still within the right-of-way, within that 30 to 40 feet from the center of the road. The curvature of the driveway often extends off the person's driveway, or the person's property. Again, very common situation. The highway easement entitles is there for road purposes, and that would include access to the road by abutting properties.
Is it there for a private road, though? This becomes a private road.
I don't believe this is actually, this is being proposed as a driveway, not a road per se. A commercial driveway, I believe.
Well, but it's.
But that's private property.
Purpose. I mean, it's not for public use in the sense that we're talking about.
Rob, has a development plan been approved by your office for that driveway?
It has not yet. No, it has not.
Would you anticipate it being approved in its current configuration, or is that?
I don't believe we had any, from what we've seen so far, we didn't have any significant concerns that would preclude approval.
Let me ask Mr. Benton, any?
What is the property proposed, what's the zoning of the property today that's being proposed to be redeveloped?
I believe that the current zoning of the proponent's property is a FR1, and they're going to be moving it into a commercial designation. Again, no problem with that. The property to the north, ECH, Hyatt's, Columbus Pike, they're all commercial and different, but in different townships. So there's no objection to the zoning change at all. No objection to the development. It's just that I think we're getting into an arena where, this happened to a client of mine over in Genoa Township, where it was outside the right-of-way, and the roadway was constructed, the driveway was constructed across private lands to get to the right-of-way. And there was no compensation whatsoever, and objections were raised with the township on numerous occasions. I just think we're, you know, I understand public easements, but when it's for public purposes, when it is, when you're crossing private lands, I think, my client's just concerned that we're for herself and for the uses. Was there any problem in obtaining the other easements? I think Mr. Riley testified. No, my client willingly participated. There was an arm's length negotiation for the compensation, and it was done. And it wasn't done in an adversarial type of thing. In fact, I can truthfully say, throughout this process, this whole corridor, discussions, all the players have been very, very willing to talk, and my client has been very willing to do things. In fact, my client, for the design of the pump station, paid Mr. Olney to do the design work on it. So it's, you know, it's not that we're trying to be mean-spirited or arbitrary about this. That's a decision you all have to make. What's going to be your policy? I don't disagree with Rob that there is the easement. Is it an exclusive easement or is it a limited easement? I've heard no testimony to that effect. So it's one of those things. Was the easement in fact obtained by ODOT, or was it obtained by Delaware County or Berlin Township or the county commissioners? Those are questions that I don't have all the answers for. We're willing to sit down, we're willing to talk, we're willing to resolve these matters, but, you know, we just got the notice. My client got the notice and then was forwarded to me. I've had numerous discussions with the client. I provided her with all the information that the county engineer's office has supplied. And like I said this morning, she's thrilled that the driveway is moving further to the east, contrary to these drawings. It's going to be moved, as per the last drawing, is going to be moved further to the east from its present location, which it helps for her concerns about the lift station for the sanitary, or pump station for the sanitary engineer's office. So, and the access, the driveway access, we're concerned about, you know, living up to commitments that we've made, she's made, not me. And that we're trying to be a good neighbor, and we just expect to be, you know,
Well,
as a property owner, she's concerned about people coming across her lands.
yeah. One of our options is to table this today, and I'm leaning towards that because it sounds as though with further discussion, you may be able to work something out. Let me just ask our counsel, though, Eric, if you have any thoughts on this going forward.
You were required to schedule the hearing within a certain number of days, and you've done that. You've at least opened the hearing today. If you need to continue it for any purpose, you can do that. However, if you do not take action within 60 days of the petition being filed, the vacation occurs automatically without your action. So you just need to be aware of that. That date, I believe, is April 30th. So if you take no action by April 30th, the vacation will be approved.
Okay.
Okay, that was a question I had.
Okay, okay.
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
You know, this is a little hard to understand and a little confusing, and I guess which side are you on is real clear, but when you try to put the two together, it's a little more cloudy. I would ask that the two parties try to get together and come to some mutual agreement. I see us voting on this before the 30th, so I don't think it's appropriate that we take the easy way out. But that remains to be seen, of course. But if the two parties could get together and work this out, I think it solves a big issue. Because the question I have, if the county bought it, I think we would expect to be reimbursed for crossing private property, for private use, I would think. So if we owned it, I think that would be the perspective, but I'm speculating, I don't know that. I think Rob has a comment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the county already does own the highway easement. I think that's the,
But it's, well, okay.
I'm sorry if I'm not
Yeah.
understanding.
Well, and maybe I just muddied the waters with that statement, but
I think it's the fact that it's one private party and another private
I
party.
think they work it out.
Yeah,
I think it's,
and it is very confusing.
it is.
I also want to make it clear, under Ohio law, that there is no question that AT&T has the right to access to a public highway, okay? That right would exist, although now limited by a recent Supreme Court ruling, as to state highways, that would be, or U.S. highways, that would be US 23. Hyatt's, while there is a right of access, an easement by necessity, that doesn't mean that compensation does not flow. Just because you have the right to come across somebody's property doesn't mean, because there is that right to public roadway. There is that right to public roadway. In this case, I think this is a logical pathway, because I think now with the guidelines by ODOT and the U.S. Department of Transportation, access out of this roadway, the existing roadway that abuts 23, would be too close to the intersection. It would represent significant problems. The ability to do a decel lane or a cell lane coming out, you'd be right on top of the, and then you would also have to move it back into that ravine area, which would cause problems. We're willing to work with everybody on this. We're willing to provide whatever information we can provide, and we're willing to do it as timely as necessary. And we're not trying to hold up this development. I want to make that clear. We want them to, if they can still proceed. I know that there's a hearing date a couple months off in the township, or at least that's what I was told, so that they're going to have to deal with this also. And we don't want to delay them in moving this project forward.
Okay. So you would definitely be, well, you've just said you're open to talking.
Further
I think
discussions.
right now, okay, one final comment, and then we're going to wrap it up here.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that the vacation that we're asking for is completely on the AAT property. So I guess I just want to clarify, we're not asking for vacation on anybody else's property. It's completely within our development, our property. So I know, and we're willing to continue to work with the neighbors, but I didn't want to lose sight that the vacation is for the old highway that's on our property, which doesn't impact anybody else, I guess. And I can understand the concerns with all the drainage and everything that's happening along that little corridor. But again, we're not asking for something out on their property, we're asking something that's on our property.
Okay.
If I'm suggesting a recess to a future day, we probably should determine that date.
I believe, is it a tabling or a recess?
Continuing.
Continuance.
Yes.
Okay, moved. Then do I hear a motion to continue?
How much time, are both parties willing to talk and have a conversation? I trust, I hope. Okay, so how much time, I guess, is a week enough, to 2 weeks?
I'll just step in again. I apologize, Connie Klima, the attorney who's been working or would work with Mike and working with me as well. I will contact her today, and I think we'll work out a time when two of them can get together and as quickly as possible.
Okay, that sounds
Does that
good.
make
And then
sense?
a motion then to continue the hearing.
I'll read a resolution.
Okay, you'll read it. Okay.
Resolution number 19-334, in the matter of continuing the public hearing for consideration of the petition from the Berlin Township Board of Trustees requesting vacation of Township Road 123A in Berlin Township, Delaware County, Ohio, under the special procedures of RC 5553.045 until April 29th, 2019 at 9:45 a.m.
Do we need that much time? Is that?
Let me just second and then discussion.
Last meeting you have scheduled at which you can take action, so.
It'd be,
Yeah, I'd
You're on
move it
vacation the week
up a
before.
meeting.
We could move it.
we moved, I think I'll be back on the 25th, but we'll operate on the assumption I'll be back on the 25th.
25th is what day? Is
What?
it a Monday?
That's a Thursday,
That's
2
a
weeks from
Thursday.
today.
2 weeks from today.
2 weeks from today.
Yeah. 25th?
Well, I was going to be out of town, but
Well, no. I think we better keep it then on the 29th. And we could always,
Once we set date and time, it's
It-
set.
29th would be too late, you're telling me?
No.
well, it's not too late, but it's true. That's the
I
last shot.
gotcha.
Erica, if we set it the 25th, and if for some reason I'm not back, could we then make a recess to the 29th? Is that a possible? We could do that. That's a safeguard that protects,
Okay.
does that make sense?
Yeah,
And it's-
yeah.
I'm the one that's affected by it, so
Yeah.
if you're good with it, I'm good with that option. And the hope is that the parties will have resolved this and will become a non-issue.
Okay.
So we will continue the hearing on April 25th, 2019 at 9:45 a.m. Can I have a first?
Motion, a second, if you made the motion?
I'll move it.
Okay,
second.
thank you.
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 19-334. Mr. Merrill? Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
And I appreciate you guys taking turns up here. over there.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The hearing is continued until that time.
Next on our agenda is a presentation.
Well, I don't think it's going to be nearly as exciting, just so we're clear. But I mean, I'm very excited, but anyway. My name is Brad Lutz, Director of Business Operations. Today, we got a presentation, sorry. Today, we have Andrew and Monica with OpenGov. Also, some others that will likely speak at least a little bit to this program. We have Auditor Kaitza, we have Cy with his office, Karen with the Commissioner's office. We all attended a presentation in Auditor Kaitza's office. He invited us to a presentation done by Andrew with OpenGov. And I just want to start off by saying, generally when I go to these presentations, I don't go in with a lot of high hopes. You know, maybe it's my years of government service have sullied me to presentations by salespeople, but, you know, so I actually went in with pretty low expectations, and I came out really excited. And that's something I can say, quite frankly, that's never happened before. I was really pleased with the product that they've presented as a possible way to enhance what we do in this county in two primary functions, one related to our budgeting process and creating efficiencies there, and the second related to performance metrics and being able to create useful reports that can help us evaluate our financial standing within the county and compare it to previous financial statements in a way that's much easier for you to digest and also potentially present to the public. So I would like Andrew and Monica to come up. They'll do their part of the presentation, kind of show you some things, and then obviously you'll have questions, but I would certainly like George at some point to come up and speak to what he feels are benefits of this program from his office as well. So
Okay, thank you.
he'll need to hook up to the system here.
Where is it? No idea.
Where is it? That's like, yeah, there you go.
I appreciate you guys trying to help me out. We were talking about coming back on Tuesday or Wednesday, so there was a good 50/50 I'll be here.
I just didn't want to get you.
But I appreciate you two guys, and,
That's right.
but if you can recess it Monday if I don't show up.
Okay, good, then we can.
Don't worry, we got
Okay,
Rob
good.
Riley.
We can reset it on Monday.
My hope is it's not an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there wasn't any way out of it. I mean, everybody. It wasn't going anywhere to keep discussing it. Yeah.
The first test is you have to be able to successfully plug into our system. But don't worry, Rob Riley, our IT specialist, is back there.
Ah, here we go.
Should we give our reports?
It's a valid,
But if we own the easement, if we own the property, would we allow private?
Supposed to be.
Or probably even that conversation? We would.
If it's too big too, you can scoot the whole table forward a little. If you scoot the whole, yeah, it's on wheels, so no worries.
this is, this piece, this is.
It's here, yeah. Yeah.
This right here is one.
Hopefully this will work.
Okay, yeah,
Because we do have executive session too.
I know. We might have to.
Those are routine. Executive session is routine, but
You would think you'd get together and figure
Purchase of property and employment.
Are you ready?
Yes, we're ready.
Well, thank you for taking the time to let us present here today, and Brad, thanks for helping set this up. So my name is Andrew Jones, and I'm with OpenGov, and what we are is a budget and performance company that is specialized for public sector use cases. So what our plan is for today is to go through just a couple of slides to kind of let you know what it is that we do
Okay.
and some of our history in the state of Ohio, and then show some examples that Brad mentioned as to how other cities and counties are using our platform to really drive performance and improve outcomes for citizens.
Okay.
So with me is Monica as well, and she's going to be driving our presentation and then taking you through the demonstration itself.
Alrighty. Thank you.
So as we look at what it is we do as a company, it's really focused around three different areas. One is around budgeting and doing budget development. The second is around performance, and the third is around citizen engagement. And quite frankly, in the state of Ohio, most people know us in that last category in terms of engagement, and even more so around public transparency and financial transparency. And that is primarily driven by a program that we put in place in 2015 with the State Treasurer's Office, which was the Ohio Checkbook Program, which allowed cities and counties to put financial and checkbook data out there. In reality, across the country, most people know us as a budget and performance company. So if you click on the next slide, really how people across the country are using us are things that you see up on the screen, things like budget preparation and forecasting personnel, as well as using dashboards and reporting to help capture financial and performance metrics across the city. So I can't help but to think about, having a way to show the number of tons of salt, over the last 4 or 5 years. Not only being able to track that visually, but also the expenses that go along with those recent purchases. And then finally, being able to put data out there and share outcomes with citizens in a meaningful way. So it's one thing to put financial data out there, but if you can put it out there in a meaningful way that citizens can understand, we've found that it's a lot more effective. Another way to think about our platform is this way. So we are cloud-based software, and what that means is we actually sit on top of the many different data sources that your county has. So if you look at the bottom part of that screen, you obviously have an accounting system, but you also might have a public safety database or a planning database. What we do at OpenGov is sit on top of those different data silos, bring it into OpenGov, and provide one centralized location for county data to provide administrative oversight for county executives to make data-driven decisions and improve outcomes for the county. And then the last slide I'll show are just a few of the top use cases and reasons why counties are coming on board with OpenGov. So we can kind of break it down into two different categories, budgeting and performance, and then communications and reporting. So thinking about being able to actually do what-if scenario analysis. An example of that would be like a good, better, best budget for the upcoming year, and being able to actually view reports as to what the impact would be on those different budget scenarios. Also, being able to plan personnel. So, if you wanted to run different scenarios on what, a 2% increase for COLA would be across the county, what impact would that be not only on the personnel, but the overall operating budget? And then being able to move over to the communications and reporting. We actually are doing a lot around capital projects right now, and being able to share with citizens, the updates on the projects that the counties are working on. And we'll show you a couple of examples there, as well as being able to actually gain input back from citizens through surveys and different functions like that. So any questions on anything we covered, and then we'll actually kind of dive into some real life examples. Great. Monica?
Good morning. My name is Monica Bandy. I'm a little close to you all here. I'm a solutions consultant at OpenGov. So unfortunately not a salesperson. I'm a technical expert, and I've worked with several cities and counties to set up OpenGov. So I'm here to kind of share with you examples of what other folks have done. Okay. I want to start here. And OpenGov, while we did have our start as primarily a public transparency company, our tools are currently primarily for county staff internally to manage their business day-to-day and their budget. And for folks like yourself, the commissioners, to really make data-driven decisions. The secondary part of that is the public transparency. Can you guys hear me okay, or?
Just for audio purposes.
Okay. Is this okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So what we're looking at here is the internal side of OpenGov, and I've got all of my financial coming from your Central Square system, and my non-financial information being pulled up into one place into OpenGov. From there, I can take those data points and organize them in a variety of different ways, by department or office, by particular persona, or around my strategic initiatives or major goals for the county. So for example, if I want to find out more about a particular piece, say I'm in the sheriff's office and I want to know what are my key kind of financial and non-financial indicators that I'm measuring. Maybe I'm doing this prior to the budget process to really take a state of where I'm at as an office, so that I can go ahead and make some budget requests. I can see how my current investments are doing against my non-financial indicators. So if I'm investing more in overtime, for example, am I servicing folks more efficiently? Are my response times going down? And if I would like to find out more information about any one of these high-level indicators, I can actually go ahead and drill down into the details. So here I'm looking at my month-over-month actuals as they accumulate against my budget. What we found from working with 2,000 plus governments is that getting the reports that you need to manage your day-to-day business is typically done in a variety of different ways across a large organization like a county. So some offices really understand an accounting system and will be able to navigate that and go into that. Some offices will use Excel. Some folks are calling an IT department or finance or budget to pull information. OpenGov allows everybody to have a place to find out the key information in an easy-to-use way, all online in the cloud. So here, because I have my monthly budget to actuals for all of my offices or departments in one place, I can come in and say, okay, I'm public safety. Show me my expenses year to date. As I manipulate that visualization, I have a table below that's going to move with my visualization and calculate my variances for me in dollars and percent. This is going to allow me to come in every day and have the most up-to-date information so I can see how I'm spending my dollars and make sure that I'm being responsible with the budget that I have for the year. If I'd like to find out more, say about personnel, for example, say I'm getting asked about overtime, I'm just drilling in down to the data, and there I can see my table below moving with me, and I can even get down to that transaction level detail or line item as well. Because we've worked with so many folks throughout our tenure as OpenGov, we have a good beat on what are the key things that most offices need to measure, and we can actually set up easy shortcuts in the data so that with a single click, I can click on the information that I need to find in the data itself. So imagine working in a complex accounting system or in an Excel worksheet, having to keep it updated, and moving to something like this that's going to be updated for you every night, coming in and really always having your latest information at your fingertips. Same idea for your budget process. So this was me, please forgive my creative liberties on trying to mock something up that kind of looked and felt like Delaware County. But as we go through the budget development process, it's really important that folks have the ability to make data-driven decisions and that they're able to present that information in a clear and easy to understand way. So here I'm taking a really common scenario that we see where we're looking at two different versions of the budget. And I want to know what are the main differences between those two different versions. So here I've got an example of the sheriff's office perhaps from one version to the budget, maybe their base budget. They're asking for kind of three main categories in addition to their base for this upcoming year. So replacing 20 new vehicles, adding additional support services, and adding some additional supplies. And here you can see the difference from one version to the next of each one of those specific requests, the dollar amounts, and I can actually include some narrative down here as well as to why I'm asking for those pieces, why I'm asking for those additional investments for my office. Down below, I can even see the non-financial indicators that I'm using that I'm hoping to impact with my additional budget towards those specific areas. So, for example, here in my base, I have $0 for 20 new vehicles, and I'm actually asking for about $454,000 to purchase or replace 20 new vehicles. You can see the narrative of what I'm hoping to achieve. And I can even click into the actual budget system where I'm developing my budget, running scenarios, and seeing the full budgetary impact of those different requests. So here you can see my line items for machinery and equipment, the dollars that I'm putting in, what I've spent on these dollars in previous years. And here I've even got some narrative that's talking about my cost per vehicle as well. Now this is primarily a tool, this piece of it, this worksheet is primarily a tool for county staff to actually develop their budget online. And as I come in here, I can see the folks that were involved in developing this part of the budget, and I can even document some back and forth that's been happening amongst staff as they collaborate together in one place to build out their budget and decide what requests they'd like to make. Those budget decisions can be brought forward into a page like this that could be used in a broader meeting. The same concept as you saw me drill into the actual budget development system, the same concept goes for any one of the tiles you see here. So if I actually want to see the breakout, and these are not your cities because I don't have your data, but imagine these are the municipalities that are in Delaware County. I can actually see the different incident types across those municipalities, drill into the data, just like you saw me do with the financial indicators. I can break these out by incident nature, et cetera, drill into the trends month over month. and really drill down into the details of both the financial and non-financial impact that I'm hoping to make. I have a couple other real customer examples and a few more things to show you, but I know I'm talking a lot, so I want to pause for any questions from folks so far.
Do you want to, we're running a little close
Yeah,
on time, that's our
Okay.
problem,
Yeah, let's go ahead.
so
I'll
unless
speed-
it's
speed up.
absolutely vital, I think we'll skip the others, the other examples.
Oh, okay. Yes, ma'am.
So obviously, this is just a very, very small piece of what this program can do. George, if you want to come up and maybe explain what we saw with the budget process and how we feel that can improve our efficiency effectiveness there.
Thank you.
Morning, Commissioners. George Kites, a Delaware County Auditor. As Brad mentioned, we did have a demonstration about a couple of weeks ago. And some of the things that impressed us with this presentation was that this would make a great front end to our accounting software, one solution. This OpenGov software has been used in Minnesota with the One Solution software up there, so we're fairly confident that the addition of this as a front end would be pretty transparent and easy to do. We're really impressed with how user-friendly the applications are, the development of a dashboard, and particularly the ability to create individual dashboards for the departments so that the departments can monitor both their expenditures as well as performance indicators. And that was another dynamic that the software would support performance indicators for individual departments. So it also would enable us to prepare a 5-year forecast. And really important is the ability to do what-if scenarios. In other words, as was mentioned before, well, what happens with a 2% cost of living increase or a 3%, and how does that impact the overall budget? So as our budget becomes more and more complex, obviously that type of information for decision-making becomes much more important. As was mentioned, we've been working on the OpenGov platform now for, I want to say, about 4 years. We were I believe, if I recall correctly, the first Central Ohio county to adopt the OpenGov platform for the open checkbook. May have been in a tie with Franklin County, but at least, in any case, I think from our perspective that this front end would be much more user-friendly in terms of being a tool for budget building than going to the budget book that is prepared for all of you. So that's kind of where we are. We're very supportive of this application and bringing it on. And I have Mr. Cy Keeley with me, my Chief Deputy. Cy, do you want to add anything? So thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I'd be happy to answer any other questions if you have, or maybe it'd be better to...
I'm not sure the question's for you, but at some point, there's a price tag.
Right.
And so it gets down to whether it makes physical sense, and so I think we need to know more than we know, and
right.
And I don't think we need to know that today, but those are the kind of questions that still need to be answered.
Yeah, that's clearly a key consideration, but does it do multi-year plans?
Yes, it does a 5-year forecast.
5, 10-year?
We could, I don't know. Andrew, that's your question.
So I'll answer that right now. So most of what we're doing right now from the operating and capital standpoint is 5-year forecasting. We do have several customers, larger counties across the country that are driving our development into the 10 and even 15-year ability. So we're not there yet, but we actually come out with releases on a 2-week basis. So we're continually innovating. The nice thing about cloud software is there's nothing installed on your servers or hardware, and you guys don't handle the upgrades. It's all cloud-based. Think about updating an app on your iPhone. Same concept there.
The last one today is 6 periods at a time. I can have an unlimited number of budgets, so I can clone and add another 6 periods to make 12. In the near future, we'll be doing up to
Unfortunately, our planning cycles and transportation and sewer go beyond 5 years, just realistically.
Can you, a couple of things. In a county, you have many different office holders. So, and you have a lot of, so implementation is a key, because it's not like one governing body can tell every office that they have to do it. It's not an email that goes out and says so there, what I've seen in my limited time here is that there needs to be a lot of training and implementation, and it's not, you almost have to work with each office a little bit individually. That's one comment. And I'm curious to see if your program or how your approach to that is. Secondly, we have very different levels of capabilities in offices from fiscal, from a financial management. Some offices have spreadsheets developed, they're doing all this stuff on their own. Others are just kind of, this is the way we've always done it, we're gonna add 5% and we're gonna be good. So that, flexibility has to be, built into the varying users or whatever, or we won't get the information. So I don't know if you can speak to those.
I'm going to probably let Monica take that, because she used to actually be on the boots on the ground implementing the software for our customers. So.
I appreciate that question, because
You know what, do you want to just stand at the podium? That'd be great, thank you.
thank you for that
Thanks, Sarah.
question. Change is hard. We have done this many times with cities and counties and some state agencies as well. Our approach to how we implement is a phased approach. So we do budgeting, performance, public engagement. We want you to do a crawl, walk, run. We don't want to boil the ocean in the beginning. We typically work with a few, we call them OpenGov power users in the budget office, who become really intimately familiar and work closely with someone like myself and my team. And then we do rollouts to the departments. The way that we approach support and training is from a variety of approaches. So we have online manuals that you can print out. We have videos for folks who like to learn that way. And every customer has a dedicated customer success manager, which is a person in your geographical area who's here to come on site and work with you, with our power users and with the liaisons in all of the departments. And part of what makes this job fun is working with folks who are so different towards a common goal. So understanding that some folks like to read things in paper, some people like Excel, some people really want to play with things online. The software is built to reach all those levels of interest.
Okay, anything?
Let me add on to that, Commissioners, that this would be a joint effort between the Board of Commissioners and the Auditor's Office, and it really would be very similar to what we've done as we migrated over to one solution and trained staff to be able to enter information into the budget documents. During the budgeting process, we open up the One Solution software so departments can enter their information, and then after that period, then it's closed, for preparation of the budget book. So we would anticipate probably rolling out the development of the budget through this software, and then continue the rollout for some of the other applications over time, bringing on maybe perhaps the less sophisticated departments after the more sophisticated departments are already on board. But it would be a joint effort between both of our offices. And that's currently the way it works right now. We support the budget process internally, but yet the individual departments are entering their information for your review.
Thank you. Okay, any more questions?
I've got a lot of questions,
But-
but we don't have time,
Later.
unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks, appreciate it. Okay,
That brings us to administrative reports.
Commissioners, Patrick asked me to just bring up that he's going to be hosting tomorrow, Saturday morning from 9 to 11 at the new Panera across from Kroger on 23, a little informational kind of recruiting timeframe from 9 to 11 for people that might be interested in looking at careers in 911. And, you know, it seems like a really interesting approach to recruiting and things like that. So I wanted to.
How's it getting the word out?
I know on social media it was posted. So and
There he is, right there.
and it's also before the first tee times on the Masters. So he's got
That's
it
a good- that's a good
coordinated really well.
We don't want to mess up the golf tournament. But
Yeah.
Jane's been working on that, on getting it out to social media. As long as our office, we've had a lot of reshares on it. It's the first time we've ever done anything like this for our center, but we have 3 openings and trying to get the word out and trying to get it. We kind of stole the ideas from our friends out in Las Vegas who do donuts with dispatchers. Panera doesn't have donuts, so therefore we went with a different idea.
We're healthier than donuts.
Exactly.
We're bagels.
Healthy community. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thanks, Patrick.
Thanks.
Let's
Good
know how
luck.
it goes.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Okay. Commissioner Merrill?
You looked my way.
I did.
I'll make this quick. It's been a long morning. I just want to first say thank you to all the people who participated in the community enhancements yesterday. I believe there were 17 of them, if I
Gee.
And I gave it a look over last night, everything was still fresh in my mind, but over the next couple of weeks, I know it'll take some more, we expect some more material to come in, so, but I'm looking forward to that. We have more today at 1:30. I assume Commissioner Benton will be there as well.
Yep, planning on it.
And tomorrow at 4 o'clock, the inauguration ceremony for the new president of Otterbein University is 4 o'clock, and looking forward to attending that. I've met Dr. Comerford. He's really, I think he'd be great.
That service is Friday.
Friday, I said tomorrow,
Yeah,
didn't I?
okay.
I said
Yeah.
Okay,
Friday.
good.
Um,
Thank you.
He's, I think he'll be a great addition to our
Oh, I
community.
do too.
Yeah.
He's,
And the last thing is 10 o'clock Saturday morning, the dedication of the new fire station in Delaware City on the south side of town that I think we've been invited to. So with that, I'm done.
Yeah, I just had a couple other things since Commissioner Merrill stole most of my
Well,
material.
you know how it feels now.
Saturday morning at 10, I'm going to be at the Galena Trail Extension ribbon cutting, so I won't be able to make the new fire station opening. And the TID meeting we had yesterday went well. They've got their first budget, official budget. First project in that budget is the Home Road Extension, east of 23, and it's going to be appropriately funded and start here in the next few months. A very, very needed, very important project that I think the TID will again help start and prove that they can really be of value in the county. The Masters starts today at 3 on TV, ESPN. So be sure Jennifer's not even paying attention. Got it, okay. She is paying attention, all right. And then, much more important than that, which I'm surprised, you may not be surprised, or you would be surprised to hear, is that our latest granddaughter was born yesterday my daughter-in-law went into labor at 2 o'clock, she was born at 3:30. Yeah. 7 pounds, 14 ounces, and her name is Lucy Malone Benton.
oh, Lucy.
So we're very excited. She's doing great. Mom's doing great.
Oh,
Just
that's wonderful.
My son has 3 daughters, and he's just going to have a fun time.
Oh, my gosh.
That's right.
Yeah, all 3.
Very exciting.
Oh, golly. Jane and I attended a solid waste district meeting the other day, and we did pass the policy committee's recommendations on our new policy. It now goes to the policy is updated, every 5 years? And so that was an extensive process, and then it got approval in Delaware County. It has approval from 94% of the township cities, and of course, we approved it too here at the county. And the only ones who didn't approve it actually didn't talk about it in a public meeting. So therefore, I think we could have gotten 100%, but anyway. So it now goes on to the EPA for a final comment period and a 90-day, it's actually a 90-day review by the EPA. So that ends August 12th, and then we will start to implement it after it's reviewed. And if it's approved by the EPA, then we'll start implementing it on August 12th. And I have an EMA meeting at 2 today, and that's all I have. We do have need for executive session.
We do. Resolution number 19-325, in the matter of adjourning into executive session for consideration of employment of a public employee or public official to consider the purchase of property for public purposes.
Second.
Discussion. Vote.
Vote on motion 19-325. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
We're now recessed into executive session. Okay.
Resolution number 19-326, in the matter of adjourning out of executive session.
So moved.
Second. Discussion. Vote.
Vote on motion 19-326. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
And Mrs. Lewis is absent.
Okay, no further business. We are adjourned.